Everyone. In this session, we are going to do the part 2 of our PubSub API series, where we'll see a working demo of the PubSub API, that is a gRPC based API based on the HTTP2 protocol. So let's start. So before starting, I would highly suggest you to watch the part 1 to understand all the theory related to PubSub API. So I'll just continue with one thing before starting the demo. So I just want you guys to show the differences between the streaming API and the PubSub API. So we can use both of these API to subscribe to change data capture events and platform events. So let's say what's the difference between them. Firstly, it's the event encoding. Event encoding is like how the data is getting transferred between the client and the server. So PubSub API uses the binary encoding, so which is pretty lightweight and faster. And streaming API uses JSON, which is also lightweight. But when we compare the PubSub API with streaming API, PubSub API has an advantage, and it is faster than the streaming API. So protocol, PubSub API uses the gRPC protocol, as we have discussed, and the streaming API uses the Comedy protocol, which is an implementation of the BOX protocol. So the subscription model, PubSub API uses the pull-based subscription model, and streaming API uses the push-based subscription model. Uh, and subscription flow control, client specifies how many events to receive for a subscribe call in the PubSub API. So when I'll show you the demo, I'll show uh, where we can put that parameter to subscribe to events, to how many events basically. And for the streaming API, we don't have the control on the amount of events that are delivered. So lastly is the publish status and the bitmap field data in the change data capture events. So for the PubSub API, we need to decode back the bitmap field back to JSON. And while for the streaming API, the bitmap field is decoded already for us to JSON before we get the event. So let's discuss some important points before starting. So we have already discussed this, but I just want to revise these points before we start the demo. So PubSub API is part of the gRPC API. So the conceptual difference between REST and SOAP and the gRPC API is that gRPC API exposes the remote procedure calls instead of endpoints. These RPCs are methods that can be called remotely with specified parameters and return types. The API server implements this interface and runs a gRPC server to handle these calls. The API server here stands for our Salesforce server. So they have implemented this interface, and they are running a gRPC server to handle all the client calls. The client calls are the ones which we have implemented, and we'll call the Salesforce server for these calls. So the client has a stub that mirrors the methods available on the server. All of these methods or RPCs are defined in the .proto file, which contains all the RPC method parameters, return types specified as protocol buffer messages. So we'll have a stub on our client side. So what is a stub? So basically, the client has a local object known as a stub that implements the service methods. So stub can you can say that stub is a proxy. So we are using a proxy from our client, and then that proxy has the proxy basically implements those methods on the client side, and those methods are same on the server side. And from that proxy or from that stub, we are calling the server side methods. So when a gRPC client calls the API, the corresponding API implementation is called on the server. Here it is the Salesforce servers. The gRPC infrastructure decodes the incoming request, executes service methods, and encodes service responses. The client calls the methods on the local object, wrapping the parameter for the call in the appropriate protocol buffer message type. So we'll provide all the inputs or arguments, and then we'll get the return response based on those specified arguments in the proto file, which we'll see. And gRPC handles sending the request to the server and returning the server's protocol buffer responses for us. That service is already handled by Salesforce, so we don't need to worry about that. So let's start with the demo. So firstly, we need to have the Python 3.10 version installed or later for this, since we are will be using Python to implement the PubSub API. Steps are will generate the Python stub files, will build the Python client, then we'll set up change data capture events and platform events. Then we will see the demo of subscribing to the channel and publishing to the platform event. So for the first step, that is to generate the Python stuff file, I'll go to the Salesforce documentation so we better understand it. So firstly, the prerequisite is to install Python 3.10, which I've already told. Then we need to install some Python libraries. So in Python, we have libraries where we have predefined code which we can use in our own code. So we need to install the gRPC package from the Python pip module. So we'll install these packages. Apart from these, we have AVRO, Python 3 package, and etc. Then we need to clone the Git repository. This repository will clone it, and then we need to generate our stubs for our Python PubSub API client. So I've already done this. So I've cloned the repository. I've installed all the packages for that, and you can see at the top we have imported all these packages. So it's really easy. You can just use the pip3 command to install that. So I'll go into explaining all these. So once we run this command Python 3 and grpc tools.proto, so this will generate two stub files for us. So I'll show you which two stub files it has generated. It has generated this file and this file. So these based on these files, we will create a stub, or that is a proxy of these, which is representing the methods on the server for us, and we'll generate a stub, and then we will call our server side methods. So I'll explain the Python code before I run it. So we are importing the certify module here. Certify, this code is being used to securely use the SSL certificates to securely connect to the Salesforce server. So we are storing those in the secure channel credentials variable. Then we have these two methods. So we'll discuss that later. And we have these two variables. So firstly, we are initializing the PubSub class, and then we are calling the auth method. So once in Python, we initialize it this way. So once we make a object of this class, this init method will be called. This init is similar to the constructor of any class. So in this init method, we are defining some variables. We are providing in the URL. We are providing in the username and password. So for authentication to our Salesforce org, we will be using the username password flow. So this username password flow is not recommended by Salesforce to use. So I wouldn't say that you guys use it for your production code. So you can use any other OAuth flow to for authentication and then connecting to your Salesforce org. So we have this PubSub URL. So this PubSub URL to the Salesforce servers, make connection, secure connection to the Salesforce servers. It will run on the port number 7443. Then from our stub, so we have imported these two stubs that got made for us from that command. So we have this, we have imported this as pb2, and we have imported the other one as pb2 underscore grpc. So now what we'll do is will make a secure channel here. In this secure channel, we'll provide in the SSL certificate that we have provided, and then we will provide in the PubSub URL. So this will create a secure channel for us for communication between our client and the server. Then we are initializing this PubSub stub, which is present in this stub that got generated from Python command. So in this init method, we have we are initializing the channel streams for these all methods. That is the subscribe, that is the get schema, get topic, and publish. So then we are providing in the topic name. So this is the topic name that we need to subscribe to. So we need to subscribe to the account change event. I've watched my change data capture video. So I've told you guys that for to subscribe to the any change event that is being generated, so we need to have the API name. Then we need to append the change event after that. So the API name of account is account, and then we have the account change event. So this will be the topic name that we'll subscribe to, right? So after that, we are calling the auth method. Auth method basically authenticates to our Salesforce org. So, and it will return an access token. So you can see after we are using the SOAP API to authenticate to Salesforce, and after a successful authentication, we are updating the metadata. In the metadata, we are providing in the access token, that is our session ID. We are providing in the instance URL, that is our my domain name, and then we are providing in the tenant ID. This is the org ID for us. Now, what I'll do is the next method which we will call is the subscribe method. So we need to subscribe to this topic, and I'll just show you. So once this method is run, the this inner method of the class will get called, and in this inner method we are calling the subscribe method provided to us by the stub. So before I explain this, I'll show you the proto file that is provided by Salesforce. So I'll go to the GitHub to show that. So this is the proto file that is provided by Salesforce. In the proto file, we need to define in our definitions, and these are strongly typed definitions. That means that these are all the methods that are set up by the server, that is the Salesforce, and we need to make a request in this form only. Let's say that Salesforce has set up a service, that is the PubSub service, and they have provided us the method of subscribe. Within this subscribe, they are expecting a stream of fetch request. So this is the argument parameters for this method, and this function will return us a fetch response. And similarly for all the methods we have this. So I won't explain all those methods. I'll share the link of this proto file. You can view that. And let's say we need to provide in the fetch response. In the fetch response, let's say Salesforce has already provided us the body. How should the fetch response body should look like? And we need to create this body, and then we have to make a call to the Salesforce server to subscribe to that channel. I'll go back to the VS Code, and I'll go to back to my Python client. So I'm explaining the code here. So this will call the subscribe method, and this subscribe method will call the subscribe method of the stub, which is just a representation of the server's subscribe method. The server subscribe method is the one that is being on the Salesforce server. Within this, we are providing in the fetch request stream argument. So what this fetch request stream would do is it will just like create our input based on the fetch request parameter that I showed in the proto file. So based on that, it will just make that request. So here it is. So we are just waiting for we are calling this method make fetch request here. In the make fetch request, we are just returning the fetch request. So this request we need to provide in our subscribe call when we are making a call to the Salesforce server to subscribe to a channel. So we have some parameters here. The topic name, as I told you, would be the change data capture event or platform event channel. The replay type could be latest, earliest, and custom. And the num requested is the parameter. It's like it means that how many events will the client receive at once. So by I've provided this value as 1, but in your implementation you can increase those value. Let's say you have given this value as 10, so by default you will receive 10 events, right? And once we have made a subscribe call, it will return a fetch response stream, and then we'll just iterate over the stream, and we will provide a callback method. So this callback method will run once we receive a event. So we are basically subscribing to the account change event, right? And once this subscribe call is successful, so we'll call this method, this callback method. So I've named it process request. So once we receive an event, this method would be called automatically. So let me run this program and I'll show you. But before that, what I'll do is and I'll search for change data capture. So I'll click on it, change data capture. We have already enabled change data capture events for account contact, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to a account record, and I'll then change some values of an account, and then we will see how the event is getting shown in the console of our VS Code, right? So I'll go to VS Code. So you have understood the code, and I'll run this program by clicking on this. I go to terminal. So we have successfully subscribed to the our change event. So what I'll do is I'll go to, let's say, account. I'll create one new account. So I'll name it first January account RPC, and I'll give it a type, let's say prospect, and then I'll save it. Now I'll go back to my VS Code, and you can see we have got the details, and we got the details of our newly created account. That means we have successfully subscribed to that channel of the account data capture. So now what I'll do is I'll I'll show you a publish call. Let's say we want to publish an event. We'll publish a platform event from our VS Code, and we want Salesforce to listen to that event, right? So what I'll do is I'll just comment this out, and I'll uncomment this part. So firstly, we are providing in our platform event path. I'll show you in the org, Salesforce org. I'll go to setup. I'll search for platform events. And you can see we have already created this Bitcoin price platform event, and it has a field that is the price. So the API name is this underscore underscore E. So the channel name would be slash event slash the API name of the platform event. Then we are getting the schema ID, and then we are getting in the schema, then we are publishing in the event. So to get the schema ID, so basically we'll call the get topic method. We are calling the get topic method of the stub class. The stub class is the one which is containing the server side methods of Salesforce, basically representing those methods. So this will return the topic, and from that we'll get the schema ID. Then we will just get the schema of that schema ID. We'll get the JSON value basically of that schema ID. Then we'll call the publish method. So I'll show you the publish method. So we are calling in the publish method. So we are calling the publish method of the stub class. So this stub class, within that we are providing in the publish request, that is the parameter for that. Within that parameter, we are providing in the topic name that we need to subscribe, and then we are providing in the self dot generate producer events. So this generate producer events is the payload basically. So you can see the payload we are providing in the here. So firstly, we are providing in the created date. We are providing in the created by ID. So this created by ID should be your user ID or whatever the user ID you want the platform event to be created from. Then we have this price, this Bitcoin price. So this is the field which we have created. So we are providing in that value. And then this is the request. So then we are returning the array of this request. And similarly, we are then providing in it in this method, and then we are calling the publish. So basically what will it will do is it will publish a platform event for our org. Now what I'll do, I'll go to the Bitcoin app which I had created for a earlier project. So this is a LWC component which will listen for the Bitcoin price platform event. Once it receives that, it will just update the value here. So in this LWC component, we are using the EMP API to subscribe to the platform event. And once we have successfully subscribed to that event, and the LWC component will receive that event, and it will just update the value. So let us publish an event. So firstly, I'll change the price. I want the price to be, let's say, $50,000. So I've changed it here. I have provided in my user ID, and I'll run the code to publish the platform event. So let's click on run. So the platform event has been successfully published, you can see. So and we can see that in the LWC component. Now let me change the price, and I'll show you one more time. Let me change it to $96,000, and I'll publish it. we have successfully published, and you can see the price has been updated in our LWC component. So this is how you can use the PubSub API to connect to an external client. So some use cases which I want to repeat is like PubSub API is faster than streaming API. So basically you can use the PubSub MuleSoft connector in between to you can use MuleSoft as the middleware. So apart from that, there are many advantages of PubSub API. So this was a in short demo for that, and to showcase how the working of PubSub API is in Salesforce. So do like and subscribe to the channel if you like this video, and I'll try to make more such videos in the future. Thanks everyone for watching the video.